Shalom, Boker Tov. Rabbi Eric Solomon, Raleigh, North Carolina. It's Friday, May 15th. We were getting ready for Shabbat. It's coming tonight, and I wanted to maybe give a little bit of a later version of another interpretation, another take, another bite at the apple of does everything happen for a reason, which we talked about yesterday from the Torah portion of Bechukotai, which deals with blessings and curses. And the theology of the Torah, just to review, is that it says if you do good things, God will reward you. If you do the mitzvot, if you don't, God will punish us. And that this theology is challenging. But yesterday I taught how, look, everyone's got to find a theology of suffering that works for them. And not a la the book of Job, where Job's friends, the comforters, not really comforters, start telling him why he's suffering. And that's, in my view, a no-no. But here's part two. This is kind of like an Only in the South story. It's a little lighter, hopefully for Shabbat. If you'd like, if you celebrate Shabbat, feel free to use this at your Shabbat table. It's an absolutely true story. I've told this before at Beth Meyer, so some of my congregants might remember, but I thought, might as well bring it back. I think it's an oldie but goodie. True story. A couple years ago, I was in my office at Beth Meyer, and over the years, I have a number of wonderful assistants who have helped me. And one of the things that I discuss with my assistants is that from time to time, of course, if anyone's a member of my congregation or someone, exploring Judaism, whatever, I meet with everybody, right? Without any concern and issue. But from time to time, there are people that contact me, and it actually happens to my wife too, but I think a little bit more to me just based on my role, who are, for various reasons, it's just not appropriate. Earlier on, when I knew here, I didn't, I kind of basically met with everyone. But soon I came to realize some people came to meet with me to proselytize to me. Now, I don't want to get the wrong impression. I know there's a lot of stereotypes about the South and about religious Christians in particular, and, that they're all out to convert us. And it's not true. It's really not true. And it's really not true here in North Carolina. There's tremendous respect. There's a lot of transplants here. This is just not true. But from time to time, it does happen that someone will reach out to meet with me. And it happens sometimes that someone would say that they want to explore Judaism or whatever and end up in the meeting that they came basically proselytize to me. So I found this obviously unpleasant. This is something, as a Jewish person, a lot of American Jews understand this experience. It's not a pleasant experience, even though I do honor the fact that many Christians do see this as they're concerned about my soul and they want to help. And I actually can find compassion for that. So, but still, I don't have the time for this. And if I'm interested in having that conversation, let me make the inquiry, okay? You'll be waiting a long time, but it's okay. All right, well, one of these times, a gentleman called my assistant. So I tell my assistants, look, be on the lookout. Have like a kind of Judar. In case someone contacts, it doesn't seem familiar. Yeah. So my assistants have been excellent at this over the years, starting to, triage or, filter. Ask certain questions when someone contacts. Well, this one time, someone contacted, it was a leader of a very large church just outside of Raleigh. Not that far outside of Raleigh, but just outside. And he contacted my assistant and said, I want to meet with the rabbi. And my assistant, asked a few questions because, but she knows I'm very involved in interfaith work. At that time, I was the head of our local interfaith council. So she assumed, okay, it's fine, he's interested in large, and she Googled his church and got information. She wanted me, it's fine. He wouldn't give a lot more information than that. Okay, but that's okay. And she told me, she said, Rabbi, in a couple of days, FYI, there's this pastor of this church, and I didn't really pay much attention to it, honestly. I kind of forgot about it. Okay, a couple of days later, comes in, this gentleman comes sit down, very friendly, and he says, pastor of a large church, and I said, well, great, I would love to engage in interfaith dialogue if there's something you'd like to meet. But then it became pretty clear within the first few minutes that he wasn't interested in interfaith dialogue. He was interested in preaching to me and basically trying to get me to open my heart to Jesus. So, I told him, look, I appreciate this, and I was about to just dismiss him when he said, can I tell you how I came to be here and, why I'm here for you specifically? So, again, I have sympathy. I appreciate that his perspective is he cares about me and he sees this as part of his mission. I can relate to these things. We are not proselytizing people. We don't do this. But, I didn't want to be rude. I was thinking, when can I get out of here? But okay, So he tells me, true story, that he had a vision, he had a dream, he was something that he needed to preach the gospel and convert a rabbi. That this was going to be his mission that God had sent him to do. And so he went on the internet and Googled Rabbi, Raleigh, something else, I don't know. And, lo and behold, my name came up first. My joke is like, why couldn't another rabbi come up first? But okay, my name goes. So he said, that's it. God's sending me a message. There must be a reason that God has put this in me and that Rabbi Solomon came up. Everything happens for a reason. That's what he said, literally. And so therefore I'm going to, that's who I need to go to. So that's why he had come to me to meet with me. So I just want to just remind you, this vision of everything happens for a reason, I get it. Again, after the fact, if you derive meaning from your suffering, fine. That I can see, fine. That is actually what I and all of us do, is theodicy, is how do you understand where God is in your suffering? But to say that it happened for a reason, like this guy. So I don't agree, but I have to admit it's in the Torah, in this portion. So I'm about to dismiss him because I'm like, at my end, and a lot of Jews have been this before. But I decided, let me just see. So I said, look, I'm not interested in really continuing the conversation. Let me, I appreciate it. But before we conclude here, and I told you, I will consider your words. Would you be interested in seeing a sanctuary and seeing actual Torah scroll, a Sefer Torah? And he looked at me like, I said, listen, look, I'm not proselytizing you. I don't have any, but Jesus was a Jew. You know that, right? Yes. I said, and you've taken all this time. You've come from a 30, 40-minute drive from your part of outside of Raleigh. And, have you been to synagogue before? Have you really met a rabbi? No. It's all because the reason of the internet and Googled up. I said, okay, well, you could see a Torah scroll. This is what Jesus, from what I'm understanding, Jesus, this is part of our traditions that we have that actually early, Jews from 2,000 years ago practiced, thousands of years ago, and you can see what it's like. Would you be curious? Be interested just before we conclude? Yes. And he said, yeah, I'd like to see. So we go. I show him a Torah. We took him into the sanctuary. And I've done this before with other people. And I showed him the ark and discussed some of the synagogue structure. I said, look, just out of curiosity, I said, you should know this because this is how Jesus experienced Judaism. This is an anti-insecure history. We opened up the scroll, showed him the parchment, discussed some of the Jewish laws around, how it's written with a scribe called a sofer. Basic things that many of our kids learn in religious school. Many Jews are familiar with. Sacredness of the Torah, how we value it. The Hebrew, no vowels, the whole 9 yards, the whole Megillah, as we might say. So, just going into it, he's like getting a little more curious, asking a few questions, which was great. I said, I'm not here to judge or, I'm not interested in getting involved in polemics, but I just want to say, do you know any Hebrew? He said, no, I don't know any Hebrew. I never, I said, okay, it's fine. No judgments. But, when you come and try to preach to me, and you should just at least know where I stand on certain things. And just so you know, like, there are certain interesting things in the Hebrew of the Torah which really inform our religious life. And you really need to know a little Hebrew to understand where we're coming from. And just for example, the first word in the Torah is Bereshit. Bereshit. And Bereshit is usually translated, I imagine you translated it, as in the beginning. This is the kind of standard King James English translation. But the word is not Bareshit, it's Bereshit. And he's like, what does that mean? I said, well, Bi and Ba, not a big deal. And there's no vowels in the Torah. So this is all based on the evolution of Hebrew grammar. But Bareshit means in the beginning. Bereshit means in a beginning. And that is actually the precise way it's written. So he says, well, I said, well, in the beginning base is a theological statement. This is the beginning of the world's creation. In a beginning implies that there were other beginnings before this beginning. So you could see, like, he's trying to think. I said, so, if you base on sacred scripture and you take scripture seriously, you just need to know that Hebrew matters for how we look at things. So I'm just presenting this because there's a really important verse, I think it's from Isaiah 7, because I've heard this a number of times, which predicts, Christians interpret it as a prediction of Jesus being born, the Messiah, from a virgin. And, immaculate conception, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yes, that's foundation. I said, well, in the Hebrew, the word for a virgin, as King James interpreted it, or earlier than that, is alma. Now, if you know Hebrew, alma does not definitively mean a virgin. And alma means a young woman who has not yet had a child yet. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's immaculate conception. It really just means a young woman. And that is the Hebrew. I said, so I'm not interested. I don't go around, looking to go visit with other pastors and Christians and say, hey, your religion's based on a verse that has what I would say is an inaccurate translation of the Hebrew. I don't do that, okay? But I just want you to understand that if you want to go and understand my traditions and Judaism, you have to know its original text and its original core. And in fact, once you do that a little bit, you might start to discover that some of the theology of Christianity has some question marks on it. I said, look, I'm not putting it down. I don't spend all day doing this. Honestly, you can have your own interpretation. Judaism is rooted in multiple interpretations. I have zero issue with it. But since you're here, and since you came to come tell me a little bit about what you think I need to understand, I think I just might want to let you know that maybe there's a question. And you could see he's thinking. I said, he's really considering. And then I ended it by saying, I know you feel that you came to visit me today because you had a vision and God told you to Google a rabbi in Raleigh and to convert the rabbi and stuff like that, and that everything happens for a reason and God sent you for a reason. I said, but maybe there was another reason. I said, well, maybe God sent you for a reason to learn a little Hebrew. Looked at me seriously. I had to back my laugh jokes. I was joking because I don't believe in this theology, but I threw it out there. What's my point of my story? Everything happens for a reason. Sounds good when things that work out well, or when you learn after the fact, or when you personally accept it. But be very careful, as I said yesterday, of telling other people everything happens for a reason, because I don't want to be told that should be proselytized to, and it's a reason. For you telling me what the reason is, or what God's reason is for me. Let me find out what are my reasons. So I leave you this Shabbat. I hope you enjoy it. It's a cute story, but it's a serious story. I leave it for you because I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. We all have our reasons why we do our spiritual lives, we find them. But may we find them for ourselves. May we seek to find, even in this difficult period, reasons, learning, wisdom. But let it not come from someone else. Let it come from the deep searching in our own soul. And as you go into Shabbat and you've celebrated, for those that do celebrate, I invite you maybe to talk with people you love. What is the wisdom you've gained through this time? What is the wisdom you've gained through the suffering of this time? Not because I'm telling you what it is, but because you've derived it from your own understanding. That's, I think, so critical. Theological humility. And so, whether we accept Bechukotai's theology or not, I think the point is, one of the most important questions of life is why we suffer and what can we gain? What can we learn from our suffering? But not from someone else, from ourselves, our own learning. Shabbat Shalom, a sweet and beautiful day, safe day, healthy for us all.